What is going on, guys? It is that boy Lanny here with you today on Operation Zoomer episode 2. And in today's episode, we are going to be discussing the current Senate race for Maine. And when you're discussing politics in New England and in Maine in particular, you can't discuss Maine politics without talking about the absolute gerrymandering that has been going on in the state for a very long time. So I'm actually going to pull up a little thing for you guys, which is going to show you how bad it is. So out of 21 congressional districts and congressional seats, 21 of them go to Democrats. That is every single one. When in New England, roughly you have about 40% of the voters are going to be voting Republican, while just around 60 are voting for Democrats. I mean, in New Hampshire, you have 48% Republican, zero congressional seats. So the absolute gerrymandering that has been going on here. I mean, you can see the lines on the districts. They're crazy. They're all squiggly over the place. I mean, it's complete gerrymandering. And in Maine, let me pull this one up for you guys. This is the voting record in Maine. And as you can see, for the presidential elections in the last 24 years, you can see that it's just about 44% Republican for the state of Maine. And literally since 1992, we have not had a major electoral college vote go to a Republican. So Maine is actually very interesting, though, because we're one of two, I do believe, maybe three states that has a split electoral college voting system. So that is going to look like Northern Maine getting one electoral college vote. The center of Maine, lower center of Maine, is going to get two, which is the most highly populated. It's got Portland and all these other cities like that, all these other coastal cities. And then you have Southern Maine getting a different vote, which is just one. So you have four total electoral college votes. One goes to Northern Maine. They vote Republican just about every single time. And then the other two electoral districts, they get two votes and one vote, and they go blue every single time, especially in the Portland, Maine area, the one that gets two votes. So Maine politics are very, very interesting in this way because it is such a diverse voter block. A lot of them, and like I said, it's close to pretty much 50-50 Republican votes, but we have zero congressional seats, and we also get three Democrat votes in the Electoral College and only get one Republican vote. So now that I have kind of broken down the backstory of Maine politics in a very simple fashion for you guys, we're going to move right into talking about the candidates for the Senate race in Maine. And the first candidate we will be discussing is Janet Mills, which is the current governor of Maine. She has done her full two terms. I'm not sure who re-voted for her the second time because she was awful and she's super corrupt. Overall, terrible candidate and terrible person. But she has actually recently dropped out of the race to kind of open way for her other Democrat running mate, which is Graham Plattner. And I actually predicted that Janet Mills would drop out of the race if she did veto a bill that would ban the development of certain AI data centers in Maine for about a year and a half. And she did veto the bill, and 4 days later, guess what? She drops out of the race. Just like I said, it was going to cause a huge problem with her constituency and the voter base and kind of destroy her entire campaign. So let me pull up for you guys so I can boast a little bit this video that I made, kind of saying that the constituency was not going to be in favor of this and that it would probably destroy her election. Yesterday, Maine proved yet again why we are the best state in the country by passing new legislation to ban the development of AI data centers for a little over a year. Now, this bill is off to Janet Mills' desk, and with her record, I'm not sure if she will sign it, but she is running for Senate, and the constituency is not in favor of this kind of development. Alright, so as you can see, I did predict that it would probably ruin her election. So on April 24th, 2026, she vetoed the bill that the Maine legislature had passed to ban certain AI data centers, in particular, this one that was going to go in Maine. So she did veto that bill. Like I said, April 24th. Watch the dates. Watch the dates. Janet Mills drops out of the election April 30th, so just 6 days later, not 4 days later, 6 days later, she drops out of the election to make way for her other Democrat candidate that was running, Graham Plattner. And Graham Plattner is a very interesting character. There's been a lot of controversy surrounding this guy from Democrats and Republicans alike because of his apparent Nazi tattoo, the Totenkampf skull and bones tattoo that he got while he was serving in the military way back in the day. He's since covered this tattoo up, but that is not the only controversial thing that he has been in the news for. He is also a self-proclaimed communist. He seems more of a socialist, but he said himself that he was a communist back in the day. And he shows a real big threat to the Democrat establishment in Maine. And he's also been catching some backlash in twine with the Nazi tattoo over his apparent non-support of Israel and not taking AIPAC funds to win this election. So, like I said, Graham Plattner is a self-proclaimed socialist, communist type of figure, and that's really what concerns me with this guy. I'm not a huge fan of him. He seems to be part of this big uprising in the Marxist and Bolshevik-style revolution that's been going across the Americas in these deep blue states like Minnesota, Maine, you got Oregon, a little bit of California. This is really what is worrying to me. Graham Plattner is actually the instructor for a Socialist Rifle Association. Let me pull this up for you guys. This is very interesting stuff here. He is an instructor for them, and it's basically a communist ideological kind of revolutionary militia group that is in a lot of these blue states that still allow weapons, and they basically train for like a civil war type situation that is might pop off one day. But yeah, I mean, he's got Antifa Super Soldier on his chest plate that he trains in with these people. Um, so this is really what is concerning to me. This guy's like a militia group instructor. He's running for the Senate of the United States, a federal position, as a communist kind of figure. And what I'm really worried about is that I do think he will win this election, because this next person that we're going to talk about is just an completely unexciting candidate. She's the incumbent. She's been in for 4 terms for Senate. She was a congresswoman before that, but she's just not going to win, in my opinion. I don't see how she really could, which we'll get into a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of concerned about this guy winning because it's looking good for him. Now, the polls that were coming out kind of showed that they were kind of even, but I'm going to predict somewhere in the 10-point ratio now that Janet Mills has dropped out of the race. I think a lot more of the votes will go to Plattner, because you have these like boomers that are going to go with Janet Mills just because she's like an establishment Democrat that's, you know, she's just like a boomer, like a Democrat slop kind of person. And then you have this new guy, Graham Plattner, who is a socialist or a communist, and he's going to be running, and I think that he will be exciting with these Gen Z voters, which I think is really what's going to decide this election. So the incumbent, like I said, she's been in for 4 terms. This will be her 5th one in the Senate. She's just not exciting at all, and let me actually pull up this graphic for you. This is what I think is going to turn off a lot of the young voters. This AIPAC tracker, I mean, you got Graham Plattner, he's got the Green Star, he recognizes the genocide, all this kind of stuff, and Susan Collins has taken $1.6 million from these people, almost 1.7. So I really think this is going to mess up her chances with getting a young voter base in particular. But, you know, who knows? I just, she's unexciting, and she's not ideologically sound. Like, she doesn't have a specific ideology that she really follows. I mean, she voted with Trump 95% of the times, but let me show you this. She voted to convict Trump in his second impeachment trial in 2021 after she voted to acquit on the first. She's a pro-choice Republican, which is just completely going to turn off a lot of the further right Gen Z voter base. But, I think this Graham Plattner guy, as much as I don't want him to win, don't get me wrong, I am not endorsing this guy at all. I actually think he's a fucking terrible candidate, and he's actually pretty concerning because if this guy gets in, that just goes to show that Maine is far gone in the political landscape, and that these communist revolutionaries can kind of get in there, excite the youth voters, get a huge turnout. Because a big thing that people don't know about Maine is a lot of our adult population is retired boomers. They have winter homes here or summer homes here, and they have winter homes down in Florida, and they just go back and forth. These are rich people, and they just don't understand the current landscape of politics. But so you're gonna get these boomer Republican ones that are gonna vote for Susan Collins no matter what. Then you're gonna have the ones that vote for whatever Democratic candidate, doesn't matter who it is. So you got these boomer Democrats, which is the majority of the voter base in Maine, is these boomer Democrats. Um, they're gonna be voting for Plattner no matter what, and a very like a very slept on population is going to be the new coming Gen Z voters that are going to be coming into this election cycle. And it's also not a presidential election year. So these a lot of people aren't going to turn out if they're not excited by it. And some guy like Graham Plattner, he's going to be exciting these youth, more communist ideological Democrats that are going to be coming into this election cycle in places like Maine. That's like a big Antifa stronghold. They do a lot of protests and rallies there. So you're going to have a lot of these Gen Z kids that will turn out for Plattner, and then you're going to have the right-wing Gen Z kids that are not going to be excited at all about Susan Collins, and they're not going to turn out. Why would they? I mean, what does she bring to the table that we haven't had? We've clearly conserved nothing in Maine. We have a late-term abortions. We have all this bullshit that's going on in Maine. The men and women sports thing. I don't know if you've seen these videos of Janet Mills arguing with Trump, and then Trump saying he's going to shut off the federal funding. She's going back and forth saying she's going to sue him. Like, this is the kind of stuff that we've been dealing with in Maine for the past, 8 years. So, I mean, you got to have someone better than Susan Collins to really unite the right and kind of electrify the youth voters, because they're just not going to show out. Like I said, it's an off year. It's 2026 election. No one gives a fuck about it. And on the right side and on the left, you're going to have all these kids that are super, because the boomers vote no matter what. So it's the Gen Z youth that is going to really destroy this election, and they're really going to be the deciding factor. And a lot of these older people in politics, they really don't understand the magnitude of the loudness of the youth voters that we have today. I mean, you see guys like James Fishback in Florida. He doesn't even have a majority of the vote against the establishment Republican, Byron Donalds. But look at his rallies. I mean, you see how excited these kids are about it. Getting these people to turn out. Because people can support Byron Donalds all they want. But it's who shows up to the polls and actually votes that is going to make these elections. And like I said, people will turn out for Plattner. No one's gonna turn out for Susan Collins, unfortunately. Which I'm not even a huge fan of her either. I don't. I mean, the whole Israel thing, not a fan of. And like I said, she's pro-choice. She really has no ideology, and she's just boring. She's such a boring candidate. She's been in for like 8 years in Senate, and like, what have you ever heard of her doing? Nothing, literally nothing. She's never done anything that's like been on the news that is like actually really exciting or a new idea. She kind of just votes with, you know, her emotions and just goes, day to day. She's not actually doing anything special or exciting to young voters at all. So with my prediction of Plattner winning by at least 10 points for this Senate election, we should probably know who the fuck this guy is. I mean, I've already told you he's like some socialist, communist kind of figure. But who is Graham Plattner? He's an ex-marine. He's an ex-marine, combat veteran. He also is. People are calling him out for being a nepo baby, which I'm not really sure why that matters. It kind of gets null and voided out by his military service, in my opinion. Like I said, I'm not a fan of this guy anyway, but like, if he was really a nepo baby and he acted like one, I don't think he would have actually done combat like deployments in the Middle East. So I think that kind of gets null and voided out, and it really won't have much hold on the election. But let's take a look at who this guy is. Now he's an oyster farmer, which if you know anything about it, this is an expensive hobby. Apparently, he got 200,000 from his dad or something like that to start this oyster farm because you have to have a boat, you got to have beachfront property or oceanfront property, and it costs a lot of money to do this. So he's like I said, been a lot of controversy around him. People are getting mad at him because he said retard on the internet, apparently back in the day. Obviously, the token conf Nazi skull and bones tattoo on his chest, which he's since gotten covered up, and he disavowed it. I mean, obviously, he's not a fascist; he's a communist, and they obviously don't coexist at all. But yeah, his ideology. He's self-described as a communist, and now he's kind of moving towards socialism, but back in the day he was telling everyone he was a communist. So that is basically who we're going to be having in Maine, which is obviously it's going to ruin the state. I mean, this is going to just show all these Democrats, and it's going to show the rest of the country, like I said, these Podesta plan what is it called, the Democratic Front or whatever the fuck, these states, California, Oregon, Minnesota, Maine. It's going to show that these deep blue states, that these people can get in office and will. And I really hope that it wakes up the GOP to really take some inventory about what we're trying to push for and move a little bit further to the right, because a lot of the right wing people here are centrist. They're just plain old centrist, pro-choice. They're boring people, and when you have people like this who excite people, he's a new face. He's never held office before. Combat veteran. He's got a new ideology that he wants to try out that has been really pushed on the youth and is going to excite them. Like, these are the types of people that we're going to get, and it's really going to change the politics in Maine forever. I do believe. Just having some socialist character, because then it's gonna encourage a bunch of other people to become socialists or run as a socialist, and it's going to flood the zone, because you're really not gonna get these like super right wing guys. You have to like really fly under the radar with that in Maine in particular, especially in a Senate race where it's not congressionalized or like there's no like districts for it. It's just the whole state votes. You're not gonna get people like this in the legislature where it's all mapped out in the districts and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, pray for Maine, man, because this is what we are fucking dealing with here. This is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a fucking Marxist revolution. It's super fucking concerning to me, especially with the whole militia group that he's instructing and stuff like that. I mean, and this can come to a state near you. Maine has, like I said, it's 44% Republican voters. A lot of the people here are Republicans. It's really only a couple major cities where all of the liberals live and the rest of the state is Republican. So if you think that your red state can't turn blue like this, it can, and it will soon. With all of these socialists winning, that's why we need characters like Casey Push, Fishback, that Fritz guy. We need these further right people, because guess what? The current conservatives are not doing anything at all, definitely not enough, to deter this kind of stuff. What have they conserved? These people call themselves conservative. It is totally disingenuous. What have they conserved? We have gay marriage. We've got slop at our schools, porn books for children. I mean, these people haven't conserved fucking anything, and it's really concerning to see these communist kind of figures come in, especially when they're starting militia groups and they are very loud and proud about being an Antifa and getting these socialist and communist ideologies into politics. So with that, I just want to thank everyone if you made it to the end. Thank you for watching episode 2 of Operation Zoomer, the Maine Senate election. Like I said, my name is Datboy Lanny. Go check out my Instagram. I'll put the link in the bio, and go check out operationzoomer.myshopify.com. We got some cool fucking shirts on there. We got Goyim Lives Matter shirts, White Lives Matter shirts. We got a whole bunch of cool stuff on there. So just go check it out. If you're not going to buy anything, that's cool. $25 for the t-shirts. Yeah, go check it out, guys, and I appreciate all the support that we're getting, and I hope everyone has a blessed night.